With the recent nomination of key members of Trump administration, including Senator Marco Rubio as Secretary of State, decorated war veteran Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense, and former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard as the nominee for Director of National Intelligence, and the direction of U.S. foreign and defense policy is shifting. These nominations bring new perspectives on U.S. foreign policy, regional security, military alliances, all of which could influence the future of U.S.-Armenia relations. This new administration, paired with the Republican-controlled Congress, presents both opportunities and potential challenges for the Armenian-American agenda. Joining me now from Washington, D.C. is Tereza Yerimyan, Director of the Government Affairs at the Armenian National Committee of America. Some key questions need answers in light of these developments, particularly regarding U.S.-Armenia relations. Let's start with Marco Rubio and then move on to Tulsi Gabbard. Given Marco Rubio's strong support for the Armenian Protection Act, what impact his nomination as Secretary of State could have on U.S. policy towards Azerbaijan, particularly regarding sanctions on officials involved in the war against Nagorno-Karabakh Armenians?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, for this opportunity. I think when we're looking at the nomination of Senator Marco Rubio to one of the most important positions in the cabinet as the Secretary of State, we want to highlight the fact that that campaign promises and campaign strategy is one thing, that accountability and actions are another. And Senator Rubio does have a strong record on Armenia and Artsakh. And so we see this as a potential change and shift in U.S. foreign policy, in treating Armenia instead of as a pawn in an international game of chess or as collateral damage, to actually approaching Armenia in a strategic and dedicated fashion in terms of shaping U.S. policy towards Armenia and Artsakh.
And do you think Marco Rubio can have really strong influence in shaping U.S. foreign policy to support Armenia's sovereignty and address regional security concerns? As we know, Armenia is very vulnerable now, and there's almost daily threats from Azerbaijan. And we know that previous administration was trying to do something, but, in some instances, their efforts failed. Now, with Marco Rubio, what do you think? Will he be more, focal and strong advocate of Armenia, U.S.-Armenia foreign policy? What do you think?
Senator Rubio certainly has a much more hawkish approach when it comes to both Turkey and Azerbaijan. Since his first term as senator, he has been critical of President Erdogan, and he has taken a vocal stance against Azerbaijan. Again, when positions change, there are no promises. However, he does have a strong record. He has taken multiple stances, and he has taken he and his staff, who, as important as the member is, the staff that they bring with them is also critical in understanding the perspective of what is taking place, both from a constituency standpoint, as well as a foreign policy standpoint. And a diplomacy standpoint, and his staff are certainly, and he especially, are certainly engaged in these issues. And a lot of that is a testament to the work that the ANC has done to build that relationship since the first term, since the 113th Congress, but also to the thousands of letters that the Senator's office receives regularly on these issues. And when speaking to the office, they note on how important this issue is to Senator Rubio, because he receives all that communication from the Florida Armenian American community and from the ANCA. And
do you have, good relations with him in the past as a senator?
We have built a strong relationship with him and his staff, and it's one where we can point back to results. So, for instance, in the 113th Congress, he was one of in a Senate Foreign Relations Committee vote to recognize the genocide and have it moved from committee to the floor. He's one of very few Republicans who voted in favor of that. When the attacks happened on Artsakh, in September of 2023, one of the few vocal senators who spoke against Azerbaijan on this. One of the senators, a few senators that have engaged on Magnitsky sanctions, who have been those outspoken Republican senators on legislation from speaking against Azerbaijani aggression to actually taking action against it.
And can you tell us more about the Armenia Protection Act? I think he's one of the, key senators behind this resolution. What can you tell us?
Yep. The Armenian Protection Act is intended to restrict U.S. foreign assistance and specifically military assistance to Azerbaijan. It was a act introduced by Senator Peters, supported by Senator Rubio, and passed by unanimous consent. So the intention is and Senator Rubio has been one of those senators who calls on his House colleagues to actually pass it as well. And the intention is, again, to stop military assistance to Azerbaijan. It is another means of getting to that end goal for our policy priorities, which is ending military assistance.
And with Tulsi Gabbard nomination as Director of National Intelligence, what expectations does the NCA have for her role in addressing threats to Armenia and protecting the interests of Nagorno-Karabakh Armenians, particularly given her experience and past advocacy on foreign policy?
Again, an individual who has gone the extra mile when it has come to Artsakh specifically. Former Congresswoman Gabbard has traveled to Artsakh, has stood in the parliament and spoken. There's this iconic photo of her and Ashot Ghoulian, then acting minister, and taking, that stance as a military individual as well, as a servicewoman who has said, our U.S. priorities are one thing, but our stance in the world as a world power is important. And she took a specific approach to Artsakh in the protection and stopping bad actors in the world. And so there's promise in her nomination. The role of intelligence has nominal effects in terms of foreign policy when it comes to Armenia and Artsakh, but there are, and we've seen this over the course of the years, there is an integral part that the intelligence community plays in understanding attacks, understanding, so to say, the writing on the wall when Azerbaijan is preparing to attack Armenia, and those are integral. That's integral information that's at the disposal of Ms. Gabbard should she fulfill the nomination and become the head of the Department of Intelligence to help aid the government in stopping attacks, aid the government in forming a policy that is beneficial to Armenia and Artsakh. But it's a welcome nomination in the sense that she is, again, an individual who has intimate understanding of this issue, has been a supporter, and has actually gone to the region and has shown that courage to take the extra step to understand the regional politics, the demographics, and the people, meeting the people of Artsakh for herself, rather than seeing it from the State Department's lens.
And can you a little bit describe what this agency and his position is doing? I mean, is she overseeing all intelligence agencies? There are so many intelligence agencies in U.S. government. Can you tell us more about that?
The Department of Intelligence has a vast array of responsibilities, many known, many unknown. But there's a national security arm, there's a foreign intelligence arm, it's a multilateral position. But again, the intelligence committee, the intelligence position has its conduits in Congress, the committees that work with them, that provide intel as to threats towards the United States, toward threats, both internal, external, and also activities that could impact U.S. foreign policy, such as attacks, such as intel about any sort of movement that will take place in the foreign landscape.
And then CIA, FBI also falls
all fall in her jurisdiction. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, with Pete Hegseth as Trump's pick for Secretary of Defense, what potential does ANCA see for enhanced military cooperation between the United States and Armenia, especially considering regional threats and importance of Armenia's security? What do we know about him?
So he is newer to the landscape, and when it comes to Armenian-American relations, he is not a former legislator per se that has worked with our community. But again, this is an opportunity for a clean slate. And at the helm with the potential of Senator Rubio being Secretary of State, former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard becoming the Director of Intelligence, two very strong individuals in combination with someone who has a strong background in military defense. We see, again, potential. But we do want to be realistic because the Department of Defense, the intention is protection of the U.S. government and its interests around the world from a military standpoint. And that is a department that has historically taken preferential treatment towards Turkey and Azerbaijan. The importance here is doing a threat assessment and understanding the threat that Turkey and Azerbaijan actually pose to the United States government, to the U.S., and the potential Armenia has to aid in that situation, but all to U.S. interests around the world. So it's an opportunity, but all of these are opportunities really enrooted in the ability for our community to continue to be vocal. And that is an important aspect of this, because these members, those who are nominated, who have a record on Armenian issues, to those who have yet to be nominated, to those who remain in Congress, to the president, their actions on our issues will always solely be upon, based upon the voice of our community and how loud that voice can get on these issues and how much we prioritize them. We saw that in the election with the vote of no confidence and the shifts in the voting blocks.
And let's talk about Mike Waltz. We know that the current National Security Advisor, Jack Sullivan, has very good relations with the Armenian National Security Secretary of Armenian National Security, and they were meeting very often and discuss Armenia's security challenges. What is the NCA view on the potential role of National Security Advisor Mike Waltz in shaping U.S.-Armenia security cooperation and regional stability? Are there specific policies or actions the NCA would like him to prioritize, and what is your opinion about him?
Armenia's security and border security is of utmost importance and priority. And what we would look to see, discussions had begun about U.S. cooperation, military cooperation, trainings. What we want to see in this scenario is number one, accountability. So stopping military assistance. What we are seeing too in this kind of platform is that Aliyev is pushing Armenia not to purchase any more arms, is pushing countries not to sell arms to Armenia. And so we want to make sure that our U.S. Establishment is not pressured, does not cede to that pressure, first and foremost. But secondly, that it has a strategic relationship from a military standpoint with Armenia that is beneficial to Armenia, right? So we want to see that develop in a way that ensures the border security of Armenia, that also prioritizes removing the Azerbaijani military from sovereign Armenian land. Right now in Jermuk and Sunik, you have Azerbaijani military who is encroached, who is challenging the border legitimacy of Armenia. And a strong U.S. policy is pushing back on that and demanding that all Azerbaijani troops are removed from sovereign Armenian territory. Yeah,
and let's talk about Vivek Ramaswamy, who was nominated to lead the government efficiency agency with Elon Musk. And What do you expect of him? As we know, he's very strong also on Armenian issues. Please talk about a little bit about him.
So this is a new agency, and we have to see what its accomplishments and what its goals are. But in terms of the presidential candidate and advocate, Vivek Ramaswamy, he took the issue of persecuted Christians and the persecution of Armenians in their Holy Land very seriously, and brought it to light on the political platform of the campaign. And because of that, other candidates took it as a serious topic of foreign policy to discuss. So we're very grateful, and he has in a position in the Trump administration. He will also continue to have a platform to reach out about these issues, and the expectation is that particularly when it comes to Christian religious rights, the freedom to practice, the protection of our holy sites, that there is an interest taken in that and actual action taken about that. And Mr. Ramaswamy has been the most vocal on that issue, and will be in a position to push forward those discussions, if not that agenda.
And we know that they will be starting cutting, government expenses, and perhaps he might have positive view on Armenia Aid that the United States provide to Armenia, and perhaps some military and economic aid to Armenia. He will be looking at it from positive standpoint. What do you think?
Generally, Republican governments have been have a different approach to foreign assistance. However, we do see that there isn't still an opportunity when it comes to Armenia, and as you mentioned, military assistance. I think there's a lot of accountability that has to be taken into account. Specifically, that U.S. foreign assistance has a strong focus on assisting the refugee populations, and there are a number of mechanisms in doing so, from specifying economic assistance to developing the economic relationship, the foreign trade relationship, as well as the military relationship with Armenia that can be mutually beneficial to both the U.S. and Armenia in development. So whereas Republican governments have not, are not as fond of putting up foreign assistance, there are aspects of that foreign assistance when it comes to Armenia specifically that we do think will win support. And we will be focusing on making sure, especially, that the priority remains the refugee population in Armenia of Artsakh refugees, that they are able to rebuild their lives, and that they have a path to the right of return, to the safe return and internationally protected return to Artsakh and their homeland, which is a choice that they want to make.
And what can you tell us about the composition of the new U.S. Congress, newly elected Congress, Senate and House? Do we have more friends there or less? What's your?
There's definitely been a shift. Yes, there's definitely been a shift. We do have friends in both houses. The Senate will be a Republican-controlled Senate with 53 senators who are from the Republican Party. The House is yet to be announced. It does look like it will be a Republican House, but their majority, or the level of the majority, is yet to be decided. And so the House has not fully been called. We have friends on both sides. We need more friends. And so, again, this is a call to all Armenian Americans to develop a relationship, to take action, to sign up to be an ANC rapid responder, but to take an active role in participating in your government. And a lot of people have questions about how to do that. It's an open conversation with the ANC and how you can be involved. But a lot of the times it just takes picking up the phone, calling your local member of Congress, and voicing support for them to prioritize Armenian issues and Armenian legislative priorities. And that conversation does go a long way. And the more of those that are had, the more offices take notice. And again, I always refer back to a conversation I had with Senator Rubio's office, where we sat down to talk about Magnitsky sanctions, and they said, we understand how important this is because of the thousands of letters we have received on it. And so that is a testament to the power of our community and the power of that community to, have more say in the administration because individuals like Senator Rubio become a part of it.
Thank you so much, Tereza, Yerimyan, and thank you for this insight and for this interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much.